Here's the question. How do you make the impossible possible? Simple. Remove the I am, the ego. Now, how do you step into that newfound possibility? With a series of small intentional steps. Never forget, the greatest among us started from humble beginnings. But to truly unlock your potential, realize you're here for something greater. If you're yearning for more than just a good life, let's take that small step together to reach greatness. Welcome to the Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast, where we're talking to those who have gone from mediocrity to motivated, overlooked to overachieving, forgettable to unforgettable. Are you ready? Let's go. Good day, everybody. Hello. Greatness from small beginnings. There's obviously two components to it, is the greatness we're headed to, the greatness we've already become to some degree, and then the greatness we're headed for past that we can't even see yet. And the small beginnings are perhaps in our past or perhaps right now. So here's some things. Here's a story that I came across and I want to share with you because it has to do an awful lot with us trying to figure out how not to limit ourselves when it comes to why we're on this earth and what God put us here to be and do, and how we're supposed to do his work in a grand fashion instead of being stuck. Okay, here it is. I'm going to be reading this, and then we'll discuss it a little bit afterwards. A scientist once captured several dozen fleas and put them into a jar. And seeing as these little creatures can jump extraordinary heights, they could clear the edge of the jar and then jump right out in a minute. So the scientist got another group of fleas, but this time he put them into the jar and he screwed the lid on top. So they could not escape, could not jump out. At first, the fleas continued to jump as high as they could, but every time they did so, they hit the lid and come crashing down to the bottom of the jar. Before long, they'd trained themselves to limit their jumping, always jumping just below the lid, so as to stop themselves from hitting it. After an hour of this, the scientists took the lid off, fully expecting these creatures with extraordinary jumping abilities to fly right out, but they didn't. Instead, they continued jumping just below the lid where they had before. As to keep themselves from hitting the lid, that was no longer there, and there they remained, stuck in the jar, but without needing to be stuck in the jar. And the way we see it, far too often, you and I live exactly the same way. What I mean is this. We have so many people in life that hold themselves back or tell us our limitations. Because at some point, many years ago, perhaps when they or you were a small child, they overheard dad saying to mom, they'll never amount to much. Or they had an experience of trying something difficult and they got laughed at, beaten down, told to give it up. Then they got older and the lid was taken off. And they grew beyond limitations that had held them back as a child. But from those years of replaying the tape in their heads and getting laughed at, they had trained themselves only to jump so high, to limit themselves. And so, although there's a limitation on what they could achieve, if only they went for it, they don't go for it. They spend their entire lives afraid of some invisible lid. We spend our entire lives afraid of some invisible lid. Should we do that? No, I don't think so. Learn to let go of the critical voices inside your head, which they say, you can't. Well, the idea is you can. There is no lid. Go for it. And enthusiastically, we need to search for I don't know. I guess what we need is a perception of what our lid looks like and why it exists. And I've been struggling with some things. I sit here with a little bit of a knot in my stomach today as I'm speaking to you about some issues. I've been given a task at work that I really don't love at all. And it has to do with dealing with disgruntled customers for one reason or another. An expectation wasn't met. They have a legitimate complaint. Something is wrong with their product. And right now I'm dealing with multiples of these. And that's kind of my job. I took on this task. And I don't love it. And on the other side, I want to make the team, even though I'm one of the owners, I want to make the team I'm around succeed. And so if we're always having to go back and fix things, that isn't actually success. And there's two sides to that. Well, why didn't they do better quality? Or how did they perceive that it was okay not to do this or to do this thing this way? Kind of in opposition to the customer expectation. And so I'm dealing with these things, and I get the angst that, well, when I go back to the team and I say we're going to have to redo this, then that actually stresses me out and gives me more anxiety than, because I got to share bad news, with my team, with the people that I want to succeed, that I want to do well, and to always move forward and not have a lid on their lives. And so somebody has to do this job, and I'm definitely willing to do this job. But I sit here with this anxiety, this knot in my stomach, because, well, somebody's got to do it and I'm going to go do it, but I have to share bad news. And so sometimes I limit myself in my own dialogue, and I have to keep telling myself, well, if it's an issue, if it's a customer issue and it's a real thing that we have to go fix, then I just need to fill out the paperwork and send it in non-emotionally, because it's got to be done. And I have to communicate the full picture of what needs to be done to make the thing whole for the customer. And we all have that in our life to some degree. Are we doing enough? Are we meeting an expectation? Are we giving our best value as a person, as an employee, as a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter, a father, mother? In whatever position we are giving the best value to those around us? And we can, if we're legitimately honest, we're going to come up with somewhere we say, no, I'm falling short in this, this, and this. And even those things, if we concentrate on just those rather than identifying the lid and removing it, those can be a lid to us. So that being said, I wanted to share this analogy with you, this little story, and tell you that you don't have a lid. You can do bigger and better and greater. There we go. Greatness. You can become the greatness that you're put on this earth to be. And often you're stopping yourself based on somebody else's voice from the past telling you something. And I have a few of those myself. I'm 61 years old and I still hear things from when I was young. And I have to say, no, that is not what I need to be thinking. And I have to reject those. Kind of on the spiritual side, I need to remember that that I have an enemy of my soul that wants to constrain me and keep me down and not be the greatest I can be, because that greatness actually works for the advancement of the kingdom of God, because I'm a kingdom warrior. I'm a kingdom person. And if I'm as great as I can be, then the kingdom of God is going to move forward even a little bit with my involvement. And each of us have that calling in our life to go make disciples and baptize them and to spend time with those around us in nurturing them into maturity. And that's our kids. That is other people who are at work and less mature in so many ways. That's one reason that I love the company that I own part of, is because there's around now 60 people that I get to interact with and enjoy their company and to see their lives change. And it is, with that many people, it's harder and harder, and yet it's really fun to be able to do it. So that's it for today, as far as the concept of don't limit yourself because you have a lid. So what I said early on is it's good to identify it. We need to identify it. And we don't need to be like the fleas that bump our head against the lid and then change what we do. We need to identify the lid and then have it removed, pray for it to be removed. Sometimes it's up to us to take the action and just go do the thing to get rid of it. And other times it's a patience thing. And through much prayer, things are cast out of our life through much prayer and fasting. And sometimes it's be patient and live through the suck. The conversation I had the other day talking about the sucky things in life. Live through the suck for a while, and then on the other end of that is great glory and great wonders. That being said, we need to go do great things. And if we can conceive it, then we should take the steps toward it. Now, that doesn't mean we don't slow down. That doesn't mean we don't speed up. That doesn't mean we don't divert and take different steps next time. Or in the process, things are revealed to us. I'm looking at some projects in my life that I say, okay, if I do this, then it's going to make me busier, and yet it really would feel good. It really would enhance my soul, basically, to do these things. And I think I should do them because it's an enhancement to my soul and a revelation then of my greatness. So get rid of your lid. Now, let me read something I've been reading, a statement that I've been saying the last number of podcasts from Zig Ziglar. Sorry. You were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of greatness. Now, the call to action: go be great.